In the vast expanse of the West African landscape, a young man named Fictional stood tall amidst the remnants of a war-ravaged land. His face bore the scars of battle, but his spirit burned with an unwavering determination to liberate not just his people, but their souls from the clutches of oppression. Fictional's journey toward embracing intrinsic freedom after the era of African slavery would lead him on a collision course with a formidable antagonist named James White Talker, a man whose greed and cruelty knew no bounds. Fictional had grown up in a small village, his childhood filled with stories of courage and resilience passed down by his ancestors. These tales served as a constant reminder of the freedom that was stolen from their people and the unyielding spirit that had carried them through the darkest of times. When war broke out, Fictional was among the first to take up arms, fighting for his people's right to self-determination. With each battle, he witnessed the atrocities committed by James White Talker, a ruthless slave trader who sought to maintain control and profit from the suffering of others. James White Talker, a man consumed by his insatiable desire for wealth and power, had built an empire on the backs of African slaves. He reveled in the misery of others, seeing them as nothing more than commodities to be bought and sold. His very presence cast a shadow over the land, choking the hope out of those who dared to dream of a better future. Fictional knew that the path to true liberation lay not only in the defeat of James White Talker, but in the transformation of hearts and minds. He rallied his fellow fighters, instilling in them a sense of purpose and unity. They were not just soldiers, they were beacons of hope, fighting for the liberation of the soul. As the war raged on, Fictional and his comrades faced countless trials and tribulations. They witnessed the indomitable spirit of their people, their resilience in the face of adversity. It was in the midst of this struggle that Fictional encountered individuals who had been enslaved and tormented by James White Talker. Their stories fueled his determination, compelling him to push forward and bring an end to the era of suffering. Fictional devised a plan to dismantle James White Talker's operation. He infiltrated the slave camps, disguised as one of the captured, observing the inhumane conditions and the profound sense of loss that permeated the air. With each passing day, Fictional's resolve grew stronger. He knew that their freedom could not be granted, it had to be earned. The final battle was waged on a desolate plain, the clash of swords and cries of victory reverberating through the air. Fictional stood face to face with James White Talker, a symbol of oppression and tyranny. In that moment, their eyes locked, an unspoken recognition of the battle that had raged within their souls. With every strike, Fictional fought not just for his people, but for the very essence of freedom. He knew that true liberation went beyond the physical chains, it was a state of mind. An intrinsic freedom that could never be taken away. In a final act of defiance, Fictional defeated James White Talker, bringing an end to his reign of terror. As the dust settled and the cries of victory subsided, Fictional stood at the precipice of a new era. The war had exacted a heavy toll. But the fire within him burned brighter than ever. He vowed to rebuild not just the physical structures that had been destroyed, but the spirit of his people, their sense of self-worth and the belief that they were masters of their own destiny. In the years that followed, Fictional became a leader, guiding his people toward a future where the shackles of the past were shattered, and the intrinsic freedom they had longed for was embraced. He ensured that education flourished, empowering his community with knowledge and the tools to forge their own path. The legacy of Fictional's fight for intrinsic freedom echoed through the generations, inspiring others to rise above their circumstances and reclaim their humanity. The era of African slavery became a somber reminder of the strength and resilience that defined their collective spirit. And as the sun rose over the horizon, casting its golden rays upon a land that had been scarred by darkness, Fictional stood as a testament to the indomitable power of the human spirit, the power to overcome, to heal, and to embrace the intrinsic freedom that had eluded them for far too long.